Before heading off to the NATO summit at which Trump humiliated himself, Trump stunned a full Oval Office with terrifying incoherence, branded as disturbing by many who were there. Now, the topic of Trump's meddling in the World Cup, which, by the way, backfired completely. We'll get to that later. Boy, what an embarrassing game last night. Trump asked about sports, and Trump makes everything about himself. And not only was he good at playing sports, he also understands sports really well, which, okay.
We call it soccer. It's called football, I guess, but we can't really call it football because it gets there's a little confusion. So, yeah.
They said it's a little bit confusing what you call. Now, I do want to say one other thing. I hope people will understand that what I am and I'm not getting involved in here. Let me see how to say this. I'm aware that there is a woman standing behind Trump who others are saying has botched plastic surgery. It's not really part of my analysis. I'm aware of it, though. And what happens sometimes, if I ignore something like this completely, everybody will just write in about that and they'll ignore the substance. I'm aware of this woman's appearance. Others have weighed in on it. I'm acknowledging it, but it's not part of the analysis. So let's continue.
We call it soccer. We're the only ones that do that, but we have football. And football's great. But I've never seen anything like it.
No.
So I saw the play, and I'm a person that loves sports and was a good athlete. And I understand sports really well, really well.
This is like a full-blown dementia rant about the World Cup.
And that wasn't a foul. That wasn't even an infraction. That was two guys running full speed that happened to crash into each other. You can't take your foot and properly place it on somebody else's foot when you're going, no, these were two great athletes that got tangled up.
Right.
And this referee, who is a little bit suspect.
Nasty guy. He voted for Sleepy Joe.
If you check his past, I don't want to say that because I don't like to create controversy.
No.
But very suspect. If you'd like, I'll provide you with the past. He made a call that nobody could believe. You know, even people on the other side, they say, oh, we got lucky. Wow, and it's very interesting. They say they don't show them in slow motion. And I never realized that. I never heard of that before.
Total dementia rant.
That they're not allowed to review in slow motion because it's so different. Because you'll take one little quarter of a second and you'll see that a hand is touching a neck or you'll see something.
Right.
Whereas when you see it in fast motion, it will look like two guys collided, which is really what happened. They got sort of entangled. He didn't do anything wrong. And he's our best player or one of our best players, a very vital player. And he gave him a
who, by the way, he shouldn't even be here under Trump's beliefs about birthright citizenship. The player he's talking about, Flo Balogun, nasty, shouldn't be allowed in. But now Trump's defending him because it's convenient.
Card. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't think it meant much. Then I started hearing that means he can't play in the next game, at least in the next game. I said, boy, that's a big, if it happened to another player, it would have been unfair. But when they take your best player or just about, they have some great players, and they say you can't play. That's very unfair. That's, it's one thing to penalize somebody for the game.
Right.
But how do you penalize them for a game that hasn't been played yet? It's very
These are just the rules, sir.
Unfair. You can't do that. So, yes, I asked for a review by FIFA. I spoke to a man who's highly respected, and by the way, whose level of respect has gone up tenfold.
The guy he's talking about created the FIFA Peace Prize to give to Trump. So just a completely whacked out dementia rant by Trump. And by the way, it backfired. He got Flo Balogun back on, and then the U.S. lost 4-1, and the Belgian team mocked Trump by doing the Trump dance on the field. Humiliating episode for U.S. men's soccer. Trump then talking about tic-tac. Tic-tacs, like the breath mints. No, he is talking about TikTok. He calls it tic-tac, and he says he is number one on tic-tac.
Now, there's a thing called TikTok. Have you heard of it? I was watching a show this morning, Maria Bartiromo. She's fantastic. And on her show, they were talking about the dangers of TikTok. And it's Chinese, a whole thing with spying and what they're doing with it. Well, except it was announced about 2 days ago, the new numbers just came out. You know who the number one person in TikTok is by far?
The number one person on TikTok?
Trump, me. I just got I'm number one. Like Taylor Swift was number 11.
Right.
I'm number one.
Trump, of course, completely and totally lying. Happens to be untrue, like most of what Donald Trump says. You actually look at the numbers. Now this is number one. Headquarters is number two. Our friend Aaron Parnas, a nasty guy, is number three, and so on. And in fact, the David Pakman show Tic Tac is ahead of the Trump Tic Tac. So just lies all the way down. Trump then says, hey, you know what? Let's promote a company I own stock in. Goes, Barron loves Dell laptops. You got to get Dell laptops. Remember that earlier this year, we reported that Trump purchased over $1 million in Dell stock. He just can't stop trying to line his pockets.
And millions more will be getting additional contributions from generous donors like, as I mentioned, Michael and Susan Dell. They are truly incredible people. Go out and buy a Dell computer. He's not doing it for that.
Buy it.
But I'll bet his business, Brad, has gotten even bigger. I have a son that loves their laptop. I have to tell you, no, I want a Dell.
Barron turns it on, he turns it off. It's crazy. He's tip-tacking on
To
it.
get him that money back one way or the other. And then I'll ask for another $6,250,000. We'll start the whole process all over again. No, he makes.
And of course, as Donald Trump was saying this stuff, Dell stock spiked dramatically. Just a coincidence, just a guy lining his own pockets. Trump then making the unbelievable statement that every crypto guy whose investigations are being dropped should be lucky that Trump is president. Just brazen cronyism.
Against it, but he has no idea what crypto is. He had no idea. He didn't have a clue. But they were very violently against it. They were putting people in jail. What they were doing to the crypto was horrible. It's amazing it survived that onslaught. It was a weaponization of government. So when I went very much for it, and I must have gotten, I think I got 100% of the vote. But what happened is, I think it was 100 million people. That's a big industry, and that means some pretty good things. But what happened is Biden then, after he was getting killed, he was down so much, all of a sudden they became pro-crypto. And their head of the SEC was horrible, unlike Paul, who's really good. No, I mean, he's the best man for the job. Everybody wanted him. But he was horrible. What he was doing to the crypto, they were putting people in jail. Oh, you know that better than anybody. Good people, great, prestigious people. They were putting them in jail. And I said, you got to be kidding. And they were trying to destroy the industry. Okay, ready? So now I'm killing Biden. I'm winning by so much. And all of a sudden, he becomes totally pro-crypto. They dropped all investigations of everybody. They allowed people to come out of jail. And every time I see a crypto guy where they dropped an investigation, I said, you're lucky I'm president, because I don't know if you know, the Biden administration became totally pro-crypto.
They let him out of jail. Trump made $1.2 to $1.4 billion from crypto in the first year of this second term. And the spending priorities, Trump also saying he's going to build a helipad. People are struggling to pay for their heating bill and gasoline and groceries. And Trump's building a ballroom, and he's retrofitting a Qatari jet and doing an Iran war that's optional. And listen, we can't have the helicopters landing on grass.
White House, are you building a helipad? Are you building a helipad?
That's a helipad, yeah. So for 50 years, we've been landing helicopters on grass. The grass is wet, soggy. The helicopters sometimes miss their little mark. You know, They send people out, Marines. I watch them do it. They march out so beautiful, great guys. They have a piece of metal that he put down. And except for the fact that these pilots are so good, they almost hit the mark all the time. But sometimes they miss. They're half the size of this desk.
Yep.
Think of it. You're landing a big...
You need a new helipad, and nothing communicates that you really identify with the plight of affordability for the average person than to saying, listen, we have a soggy grass problem for where The helicopters are landing. We need a helipad. The entire room, you couldn't tell necessarily because some people's smiles were frozen in place, either by fear or plastic surgery, but the entire room stunned. But then Trump goes to the NATO summit and it gets even worse. Thanks for watching. Check out another one of our videos and make sure to subscribe so YouTube keeps our content in your feed. And if you prefer audio, subscribe to the podcast on Spotify or Apple.